LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga has surprised a lot of us. 9 movies, hundreds of characters, and an amazing new combat system. The lightsaber combat system in this game is amazing, let me explain. In the older LEGO games, you could swing your saber with 1 or 2 basic attack animations and that was that, but TT Games went an extra mile with this one. All of the lightsaber fights and duels feel all the more intense. This isn't just a reskinned original Saga game with some rehashed fights with upgraded visuals. Not only are the maps better, but the gameplay feels so fresh. Every boss fight is different and it's enjoyable in a unique way. The mechanics feel different and you don't just hack and slash until all the enemy hearts are gone. Enemies have their own boss health bar and you have to combo them down in a Souls-like fashion, except this one is more kid friendly. This is a family game after all. Bosses and some enemies will have special attacks. They might leap in the air and smash down on the ground, shoot a projectile at you, like bounty hunter rockets or the Emperor's lightning. You can counter these special attacks with a series of rolls, pouncers and dodges and strafes when you're moving. Hard swift attacks can also be blocked, and fighting feels like fencing where you need to have a good combo of blocking, dodging and attacking to evade dying. Boss fights are challenging here, but not too tough for the casual player. They just feel refreshing. There's also small combat sequences like saber clashes where you have to mash a button to get the upper hand. Although the saber clash where you smash the Y key on the Xbox pad got pretty repetitive as it was featured multiple times, especially in the Count Dooku fight. As a Jedi, you can dodge out of the way and jump and pounce at the enemy, and when you do get knocked back or have some distance, you can close the gap with a saber throw and then a leap. There's different ways to play and tackle bosses, and it feels so fun to play every episode. Using the Force Leap is super fun too. Picking up objects and throwing them at the boss and then switching back to saber mode gives a nice balance, and it feels like the player has multiple choices for the combat options. The combos are done by performing multiple actions with the different buttons. This is shown on the right side, which is useful to repeat your combos and also to press the sequential buttons to get a higher multiplayer modifier. In some fights, you have to use your saber to redirect certain attacks. Sometimes this is blaster shots and projectiles, but in the Emperor fight, you use the thumbsticks to redirect the Force Lightning, which feels really nice. It's just small mini games, the combos and clashes, and full fluid non-linear fighting that makes the boss fights unique and multi-staged. It feels like there's multiple stages and tiers to a boss fight, so there's a lot of things that you can do before you actually defeat the boss as a whole. This adds a little bit more challenge and just makes it more fun and less repetitive. All in all, you feel pretty powerful as a Jedi in this game, but not invincible, and it's far less repetitive than the other LEGO games. It takes a little getting used to at first because the combat's so different, and like I mentioned in a recent video, the shooting system's also a lot different, but after you get used to it, it's a good deal of fun. I think they've done a really good job in the fighting system of this game, and I'm having a real ton of good fun with it. I also particularly like the fight in The Empire Strikes Back. It's the end of the level when you're playing as Luke and you're fighting against Darth Vader, and you're basically inside this really narrow hallway and you have to chase him out onto the bridge on the outside. This is one of the more intense fight levels, which I think really displays the new combat system. There's obviously a few in-game cutscenes which are inside of the level where he forces you back, and then there's a few clashes in between. You have to do a mix of pressing the X key, the B key, or those really fast and repetitive Y key strikes to block Darth Vader's shots, and he'll force push you back a few times onto the bridge. But it's a really intense fight because obviously it's quite claustrophobic. There's not really much space to duel him here, so it makes everything a lot more action-packed and more fast-paced. And obviously, if you know what happens in the movies, you're not going to win this fight as Luke, but it feels somehow really cinematic. It's just these types of levels and the changes that have been made which just shows you retrospectively how different this game is to the original trilogy and what the fights were like in those old games. I think this is one of the best levels to showcase how intense this game can actually be, and it was actually really super fun to do this fight. Another one of my personal movie favourites is the fight with Mace Windu versus Jango Fett on Geonosis in the arena. The original game, this was quite anticlimactic because not just mainly due to the more basic, simple lightsaber mechanics, but just the fact that obviously with the new technology in the new game, the Geonosis arena is far bigger, there's more room to run around with and a lot more NPCs and AI characters, making it just feel more like there's people in the audience, more like there's more action going on in the center of it. This fight is a lot more action packed than before. Obviously with the cinematics they can't really show much violence in a LEGO game, but the duel with Jango Fett as you're deflecting all of his bullets and trying to chase him around the arena is actually really fun. He also has a lot of mobility, so he's just jetpacking around and feels more skilled than he does in some of the video games and also in the movie. Jango Fett is apparently one of the best bounty hunters in the galaxy, so you'd expect him to put up a bit more of a fight. This kind of has the player chasing Jango around the arena and also having to fight the other NPCs in the middle, so it makes the fight kind of more spaced out and also really satisfying to play.
This party's over.
Then there's also the following fight. This is obviously the fight after the conclusion of the Geonosis arena level, which skips straight to the Count Dooku duel. This is split down into two separate segments. It starts off with Obi-Wan and Anakin, and then of course you fight Dooku at the end as Yoda. This fight's pretty interesting. It basically has multiple stages. You have to knock out some of the generators and machines, and then you're in the dark and Count Dooku ambushes you in between. This is a pretty fun fight because it's one of those ones where you have to switch between Obi-Wan and Anakin, as Obi-Wan's basically getting shot by lightning or basically stuck in stasis in a lightsaber clash. You can then switch to Anakin and then slash Dooku in the back. It's pretty nice because it kind of requires you to use both characters, kind of like in that GTA 5 style character switching that you have to do in that game to complete certain missions. It's also really nice because Count Dooku has a lot of different abilities. He has Force Lightning just like the Emperor does, and he can basically jump down and smash on the ground, and he's one of the more tougher boss fights because you have to avoid so many ranged and melee attacks from him, and since there's so many stages it makes the level more interesting. Then of course the next segment of this particular fight is when you play as Yoda. Yoda's super fun to play as in Lightsaber Combat because he has extremely high mobility that you probably wouldn't expect. Obviously in the old LEGO Star Wars games Yoda was hobbling around with a walking stick, and he still kind of has that same walking style of animations where he's slow, but he can do barrel rolls and flip around in midair, and he's a lot more mobile than what we're used to. He can do somersaults, front flips and back flips, and in Lightsaber Combat he's pretty dangerous. It's super fun to play as Yoda, and it's kind of mini changes like this that makes some of the different characters feel different in the Lightsaber Combat, especially since they all kind of perform in a similar way, but since they have different styles of movement, it makes it feel more unique when you play as different characters, so they're not really all the same. And obviously to close out, I'm going to choose just some more footage of the Darth Maul fight with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace. I haven't completed the game yet, so I haven't actually played each and every single lightsaber duel, but this is another one of my favourite ones from the movies, and probably one of the more epic lightsaber fights, of course because it's one of those prequel fights. There's multi-stages to this, but the combat just feels extremely amazing. I really like how this fight plays, and in comparison to the much more dated Complete Saga mission and from the classic Star Wars 1 LEGO game, this fight just seems all the more awesome. I remember the Darth Maul fight actually being extremely really good in the old LEGO games, but they've gone to a whole new level with this. This is just kind of a mini review of the lightsaber combat system in LEGO Star Wars. I plan to bring out a few more videos, and if you want to check out my first thoughts and first impressions, my review on LEGO Star Wars, that will be linked in the description below. You can also check out my video showcasing all of the DLC characters too, if you want to check out what those look like. I plan to release a part 2 and part 3 when the new DLC characters are released in the upcoming weeks. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more LEGO Star Wars and Minecraft content. Thanks for watching.